So what's happening right now in politics is there's just a big fight going on, a war that's going on between Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, and pretty much like the rest of the Senate, especially the progressives in the House as well as the Senate, in a fight for a $3.5 trillion over 10-year infrastructure plan that's going to invest in this country's infrastructure. So, building roads, bridges, public transportation, things of that nature. Things that, infrastructure is actually supposed to be a bipartisan issue, meaning it's not supposed to be something where Democrats support infrastructure but Republicans don't. Building bridges and improving public infrastructure has tons and tons of benefits for society that well outmaneuver what the costs actually are, especially if we're talking about creating things that are going to benefit our climate. The cost of having a climate that's going to completely collapse is insurmountable, quite literally, right? Because everything will be destroyed. So Joe Manchin essentially is controlling the government himself and Kirsten Sinema right now. Joe Biden doesn't seem to be doing jack shit at all. Right now, the country is obviously it's in chaos completely right now. Businesses don't really have any workers right now. Laborers are very hard to find. Labor is an extreme shortage right now. There's a very high demand, which means that companies are pretty difficult to run at this point because there's no employees there. Biden administration doesn't really seem to be doing anything. The supply chain is, being withheld. Obviously, it's a global issue, but yet still, of course, it's a very, very big issue that Joe Biden just doesn't have seem to have done anything. So, similar to what we saw with Kamala Harris. Now, first I should say, do remember that this was a plan of Bernie Sanders if he became president. His plan was whatever senator or whoever didn't want to support what he was pushing through, he was actually going to go to their state and actually campaign against them to put direct home pressure on them. Because if you're a senator from West Virginia, unless you're trying to run for president, you really don't give a fuck what people in California are saying about you because they don't have a vote on you, right? You're a federal senator that represents your constituency in West Virginia. So remember, that was his plan. Now, Kamala Harris kind of took a page out of that. She went and did an interview in West Virginia, and Joe Manchin was absolutely shocked. He was like, holy shit. He was truly taken aback by that. Now, Bernie Sanders seems to be going through with this plan, which, by the way, Bernie has been really working his ass off in this situation, just constantly. Every day you see a new news story about him really pushing for this infrastructure plan. Now, it says Manchin fires back after Sanders pens op-ed in West Virginia paper. Senator Bernie Sanders' move to land an op-ed in Manchin's backyard seems to have crossed the line for the West Virginia senator. So what happened is not only did apparently Bernie Sanders write an op-ed in a West Virginia newspaper, I guess it's literally the one from his hometown, which is actually even much more significant. It says Bernie Sanders has been calling on Joe Manchin to support President Joe Biden's full agenda for weeks. On Friday night, Manchin signaled he's had enough of that. In response to an op-ed from Sanders, published in Manchin's hometown paper on Friday night, Manchin snapped back. This isn't the first time an out-of-stater has tried to tell West Virginians what is best for them, despite having no relation to our state. Congress should proceed with caution on any additional spending, and I will not vote for a reckless expansion of government programs. No op-ed from a self-declared independent socialist is going to change that, Manchin said in a statement on Friday evening shortly after the op-ed published. Sanders caucuses with Democrats but is still technically an independent. So it explains here, it says, in that piece, Sanders lays out how his proposed Medicare expansion and drug pricing reforms would help West Virginia, a historically poor state that is aided by many federal programs. This is one of the things, too, man. Apparently, right-wing Republican states are basically welfare queens that eat off of the blue states that provide all of the tax dollars, and then the red states are the ones taking up all of the actual benefits. These federal benefits that you get, whether it be Medicare or whatever it may be. Sanders also makes the case for climate action, paid leave expansion, and other programs in the bill that could face omission if Manchin insists on shrinking it. So there's just a bunch of stuff in this that would be super beneficial. And trust me, these kinds of things like Medicare expansion and drug pricing reforms are absolutely huge. hugely popular positions. So especially drug pricing reforms, people are tired of extremely high drug prices, and I think polls show consistently that people hate pharmaceutical companies, so they view them very poorly. So these are very important things, and even things like paid leave, like these are things that we really need to have conversations about to really either change people's minds or to really drill it into people's heads that these things are not only good, not only possible, but they're actually good. So this is a very smart move by Bernie Sanders to do this, because these are things that they're going to support. And Joe Manchin is trying to say that, it's someone from out of state trying to tell them what they want. Do we actually know that they already want this stuff? It's just you're the elected official who's not following what they want. And also, Joe Manchin has a lot of financial incentive to oppose a lot of this stuff. He makes a lot of money from the fossil fuel industry, so he clearly has an invested interest in all this stuff as well. And I'm sure he has tons and tons of dollars in campaign donations from the fossil fuel industry and industries that would be harmed by the passage of this bill. So Bernie is going straight forward. He decided to put an op-ed on this, and essentially the goal is to get people in West Virginia, because again, right, like Bernie Sanders doing this understands how politics works. Like I said earlier, you need people in West Virginia to start protesting Joe Manchin, because he's a senator from West Virginia. His constituency is West Virginians, so that means that he needs to basically convince and organize West Virginians to actually pressure him, because that's how politics works, right? Politics is a lobbying and pressure game, and so he knows that that's how it is. And it does go to show you that you can see some of the strategies that Bernie Sanders would have utilized if he were president of the United States and trying to get these kinds of things done. I don't believe that this is some kind of thing that Barack Obama would have done when he was president of the United States. And so this is kind of, what's going on. Obviously, a lot of people talking about how Bernie Sanders won West Virginia's Democratic primary. I think he won every district, if I'm not mistaken. So these are clearly very important issues that are extremely popular, especially amongst West Virginians. I mean, the spending on infrastructure is huge among West Virginians. So this is definitely something that the constituency supports. And at this point, what you have to do is you have to be able to rally together, motivate West Virginians to come out and protest against Joe Manchin to support this $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. This is really getting pretty drawn out. This war that's going on, this fight that's going on is really getting drawn out. I don't know. Hopefully the progressives don't budge on the number going down, but unfortunately, with the way that it's looking right now, it's hard to see that happening. Again, I think a lot of this really falls on Joe Biden's shoulders. You're the president, ultimately. You're the commander-in-chief. You're the leader of the Democratic Party at this point. You have to flex your muscle and, bitch him down, essentially, especially with the whole situation going on with the scandal with his daughter. He's committing crime. His family's committing crimes, you got to do something at some point here. But Bernie Sanders putting pressure on Joe Manchin.